Well, here we are in the museum portion of the facility, and for many of you, you've probably heard the story of Edward Armstrong, and I'm going to share that with you if you haven't had that experience. Ed Armstrong was a volunteer that came to us early on in the organization, and Ed was a pilot of not only B-17s, but B-26s and several other airplanes during World War II. Ed was a college graduate from Oregon State University, and because he had just recently graduated when the war broke out, he was recruited immediately to become a pilot in the Army Air Corps. So Ed was sent out overseas and was on numerous different missions. But he has a really inspiring tale that I want to tell you about. His airplane had been over a bombing raid in Germany, and the airplane was terribly shot up and battle damaged. There was a lot of problems. There were injuries on board the plane and everything, and they were coming back across the English Channel. And he was struggling to keep the airplane in the air, but they threw everything overboard that they possibly could. They threw over the guns, any leftover equipment, anything that was on board the plane that was something that they could dispose of on the way. They had 2 engines out and a 3rd engine failing in terrible weather coming over the English Channel back towards England. And Ed kept thinking to himself, if I can only see the white cliffs of Dover, I think we can make it. If we can only just see those white cliffs of Dover, I know we can make it. And suddenly at that point in time in this terrible weather, they broke out of the weather, coming right in towards the white cliffs of Dover, and it was all he could do to get the airplane enough altitude to clear the white cliffs of Dover. On the other side of the cliffs, he basically crash landed the airplane, and then he made sure his crew members were all okay, went back to the actual white cliffs of Dover, and broke off this chunk of the white cliffs of Dover with his bare hands. He carried that with him for the rest of his life, and he wanted us to have it because he knew we would tell his story and his crew's experience in an honest fashion.